Welcome to Film Focus. Please subscribe to help us reach Mo subs. This woman clearly joined a dating reality show that every girl dreams of. Yet, while filming the show, all she could think about was getting eliminated early. While the other girls starved themselves to stay slim, she was happily eating fried chicken wings. She had no desire to compete with these women for the title, and she had absolutely no interest in the show's Bachelor. So, why did she even participate and pretend to be so full of excitement with a big smile? It was all because of a mysterious letter she received. Her life was about to change completely, but her excitement didn't last long, because the school required doula hai tram neen a year for tuition. Last year, her grandmother had a bad fall, and insurance didn't cover all the medical bills. Her remaining savings were only enough for 1 year's tuition. She didn't even have enough money for a flight to Paris, let alone for her accommodation. To help make Danielle's art school dream come true, her sister was worried sick. Her sister suggested she join a show similar to The Bachelor, because as long as she gets eliminated, she could walk away with a du la mot tram bon moyen appearance fee. This was exactly what Danielle desperately needed right now, but when she heard that the competitors were so fiercely competitive on the show that they wouldn't even take a single bite of food, she couldn't believe how crazy it all was. Still, it was the only option she had left, but to get her hands on this guaranteed money, she had to pass a brutally strict audition. However, Danielle wasn't the sweet and lovely Cinderella type, nor was she the wild and rebellious biker girl, and she definitely wasn't the maternal type looking to settle down. She was just a small town girl with a big dream. She knew absolutely nothing about the rules of the show. She even answered the interviewers' questions with total nonsense. Since she had already been exposed, Danielle didn't want to get her hopes up anymore. But when the interviewer heard this small town girl talk about her big dreams for Paris, they actually took a bit of a liking to her. However, the production team needed contestants who boasted a massive following on social media. To boost their declining ratings, all the girls present had to be single. That was the absolute prerequisite to even qualify for the show. Yet, at a bar later that night, Danielle suddenly felt her heart skip a beat. It was love at first sight with the cowboy sitting across from her. She walked over to the cowboy to buy a drink, and despite it being their first time meeting, they had a wonderful conversation. As they got to know each other, a gentle spark ignited between them, and as if guided by fate, they began falling in love. But she still had to participate in the Love Honeypot reality show, so she reluctantly bid a sweet farewell to her cowboy, and headed home with her sister. However, she never in her wildest dreams imagined that the Love Honeypot production team would actually send her an acceptance notice stating the show would be filmed in Paris, France. Danielle would finally get her free trip to the city of love. She shared a heartfelt, tearful goodbye with her family, and headed off to the show, carrying her dream of going to college. The producer was absolutely thrilled to have her on board, and so, filming for the Love Honeypot officially began. 20 girls would showcase their unique charms and personalities, competing fiercely until only one emerged victorious. The ultimate winner would earn the right to accept the Bachelor's proposal, or choose to walk away with a doula 1.75 million cash prize. Because of this, maintaining their flawless beauty was of the utmost importance. Moisturizing daily, staying away from alcohol, strictly avoiding sweet, and constantly maintaining their heavy, glamorous makeup. But Danielle was the only one who did the exact opposite. Her only goal was simply to get eliminated and collect the du la mot tram bon moyen appearance fee. As the hours slipped away, they finally touched down at their destination, Paris, France, but Danielle felt a wave of anxiety, unable to catch even a glimpse of the outside world. Rumor had it that the producers had completely blacked out the windows to maintain an air of mystery. Yet, as the girls stepped off the plane, hearts fluttering with excitement, they were left utterly and completely stunned. The producers had played a massive trick on all the contestants. They weren't filming in the romantic city of Paris, France, but rather in a small town called Paris, right here in Texas. It was a mere 60 miles away from Danielle's own home. They had been flown to a fake Paris, but with the contracts already signed, backing out now would mean paying back all the production costs and losing out on that du la mot tram bon moyen appearance fee. Feeling utterly helpless, Danielle had no choice but to swallow her pride and play along with the producer's little game. Right now, her only wish was to be quickly eliminated by the Bachelor, so she could take the money and walk away. As they finally pulled up to the sprawling, luxurious ranch, the girls couldn't stop whispering about what the mystery man might look like. But that sweet secret wouldn't be revealed until the very next day. Today was was all about settling into the grand estate, and rushing to the extravagant dressing room, to pick out the perfect outfits for the fierce battles ahead. Not a single girl there could resist the allure of all those stunning dresses and sparkling luxury goods. Yet, Danielle remained completely unmoved by it all. Instead of fighting over clothes, she quietly slipped away to her own room. Early the next morning, as the soft sunlight broke through, Danielle, who was always used to waking up early for farm chores, took a peaceful, aimless stroll around the grounds. She wandered over to the stables, and gently helped the ranch hand soothe a startled horse. And there, to her absolute surprise, she bumped into the cowboy, Wyatt. Never in her wildest dreams did Danielle imagine that this magnificent, sprawling ranch actually belonged to Wyatt himself. But what was even more unbelievable was that Wyatt was the mystery bachelor of the entire dating show. But right after they exchanged greetings, Danielle begged him to eliminate her. When Danielle couldn't convince Wyatt, she decided to get herself eliminated through her actions. She refused to wear fancy dresses or put on any makeup. This bizarre behavior left the producer feeling quite disappointed. He stopped her, demanding a reason. No matter what, Danielle had no choice but to explain honestly. She had only joined the show for the free plane ticket, and to collect the elimination appearance fee. But the producer actually liked Danielle. He made her understand that if she wanted to leave safely, it was best to get dumped. In front of millions of viewers worldwide, she had to dress up so that the others wouldn't suspect a thing. She also had to pretend to like The Bachelor as much as possible. What no one knew was that The Bachelor, Wyatt, long before filming even started, had already shared a spark of romance with Danielle. The other girls were completely mesmerized by his handsome look, swept off their feet, while Danielle was the only one forcing a smile as the first round officially began. The contestants took turns trying to leave a good first impression on The Bachelor. This would determine whether they'd be eliminated, so everyone was trying their absolute best to appear perfectly poised and elegant. They barely ate a thing to maintain their figures, but Danielle just ate fried chicken wings without a care in the world. This left Amber, who was sitting right across from her, staring in absolute disbelief. It also completely shocked the director. No one had ever actually eaten real food on national television before. She ate so fast that she choked and started coughing, and even took huge, unladylike gulps of her drink. She didn't even bother to greet the Bachelor. It was completely incomprehensible whether she actually wanted to win this competition or not, but, forced by the producer's instructions, she had no choice but to show some affection to the Bachelor. However, the undeniable sparks between the Bachelor and Danielle immediately aroused the suspicion of the director and the producer. They sharply sensed that the two of them already knew each other. This would be completely unfair to the other girls. They demanded that Danielle be disqualified from the competition. But that was exactly what Danielle had been hoping for. However, the director decided to keep Danielle on the show, since they had only met a few times, and nothing further had developed between them. They even seemed to genuinely dislike each other. With such harsh comments, she was bound to be eliminated anyway, so the other girls could continue the competition with peace of mind. But everyone assumed this was just some cunning strategy. After the interviews for the first round came to an end, the show reached its most nerve-wracking moment. Wyatt would base his decision on everyone's performance today, to decide which girls would advance. As the available spots dwindled, the girls were so nervous that their hearts were pounding. But Danielle was the only exception. She thought to herself that she could finally leave this wretched place that held none of her dreams. Danielle was chosen to advance to the second round, but she politely declined. However, Wyatt wanted to prove that he was much more charming than any Frenchman, to everyone's absolute surprise, and under the strict orders of the director and the producer, Danielle reluctantly accepted the spur that symbolized her advancement to the next round. This meant her departure was forcefully delayed. As for the girls who were eliminated in the first round, they would probably never understand why Danielle cared so little about this honor. Danielle couldn't stand the fake performances of these influencers anymore. If it wasn't for the fame and the money, probably no one would be foolish enough to participate in a show like this. Those girls who walked away hand in hand before must have only been after the wealth and power of those rich heirs. But Wyatt, despite coming from old money, seemed to possess a genuine, captivating charm of his own, and Danielle, purely by chance, had secretly caught a glimpse of this. She almost found herself falling for him, but her heart was solely set on her dream of going to college. Getting eliminated was her only real goal. Yet, no one could have ever imagined that the next round of the competition was designed by Wyatt specifically for Danielle. Those pampered, high-maintenance girls couldn't stomach the thought of shoveling horse manure. All their carefully crafted fake personas began to crumble, one after another. Even the director and the producer couldn't tolerate the stench of the stables, but someone quietly pushed through it all. Danielle, of course, knew deep down that Wyatt was secretly giving her an advantage. At this rate, it was only a matter of time before she won the whole show, but she had never once desired that final victory. All she wanted was to be sent packing in the very next round, so she made one more desperate attempt with Wyatt. Danielle deliberately snatched away his beloved cowboy hat, and that little stunt successfully struck a nerve with Wyatt. Seeing the frustration in his eyes was a clear sign that today's challenge would finally give Danielle exactly what she wanted. Yet, to her absolute shock, Danielle still received the symbol of advancement, the spurs. Even though she complained about it, all the other girls knew exactly what was going on. The Bachelor was completely falling for Danielle's little game of playing hard to get. Her roommate couldn't understand why Danielle, even in the privacy of their bedroom, was still so incredibly resistant to advancing in the show. Seeing that her roommate was genuinely sweet and naive, Danielle finally confessed her secret desire to be eliminated, but she never could have anticipated what her roommate would reveal about the upcoming challenges. Every challenge winner gets an extra cash prize. Such an incredible opportunity completely shifted Danielle's ultimate goal. Woohoo! The girls arrived at the barn, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. Wyatt had already been waiting there for quite some time, and tonight's competition was going to be thrilling. Riding the mechanical bull, and the girl who could hold on the longest would win a Du Laba Moi Lam Neen cash prize, along with an exclusive one-on-one romantic date with Wyatt. The competition kicked off in a lively, cheerful atmosphere. Without strong core muscles and a good sense of balance, very few could last more than 10 seconds, but this kind of physical challenge seemed to be exactly Danielle's strong suit. Yet, no one suspected that Wyatt was secretly rigging it for her. In the end, Danielle set the best time at 14 seconds, securely taking first place. The Du Laba Moi Lam Neen prize seemed well within her grasp. However, fate had other plans. When it was finally time for her fierce rival, Amber, to take a turn, the seductive little dance she performed on the bull mesmerized everyone in the room, so much so that Wyatt completely forgot to speed up the machine. Tonight's undeniable champion, the one who stayed on the bull the absolute longest, was Amber. This internet sensation, with millions of followers, Amber had finally done it. She had finally seized the perfect opportunity to win over Wyatt, earning that crucial, intimate date. Tonight she would lay a solid foundation for her ultimate victory. Meanwhile, a resentful, shadowy figure paced back and forth in the distance, staring intently at the two of them getting cozy. The dark figure crept closer, ever so carefully, silently dodging the camera's lines of sight. While the two were completely absorbed in their date, the shadowy figure moved stealthily back and forth, searching for the perfect spot to hear every whispered word, and get a clear view of the couple. However, she arrived just in time for the most dramatic part. Right at the moment their lips were about to touch, a fiercely jealous Danielle accidentally knocked over a potted plant, sending it crashing right into the pool, and terrifying everyone around them. Danielle had completely ruined this beautiful, romantic date, before quickly vanishing from everyone's sight. But opinions on this awful behavior were certainly mixed. Early the next morning, a new day brought a brand new round of dating challenges. The winner of this round would receive Du Laba Moi Neen, and the sweet reward of cooking dinner with the Bachelor. And the challenge? Axe throwing. This still seemed practically tailor-made for Danielle. For a city girl not born in a small town, just hitting the target with an axe would be pure luck. But Danielle was different. She effortlessly struck the bullseye, unsurprisingly taking home the crown for this round, and earning her precious date with Wyatt. Wyatt was supposed to stick to the script and perform for the audience, but once he let go of those burdens, he found himself genuinely captivated by Danielle, and real, undeniable sparks of love began to fly. Lost in a deep, affectionate gaze, they almost forgot about the cookies baking in the oven. Luckily, they managed to pull themselves together, and went back to busily preparing the meal. The dinner they made was, of course, the centerpiece of their romantic date, and a beautiful chance to deeply understand one another. Wyatt wanted to spend his entire life right here on this ranch. Staying in Texas was his ultimate dream, but when he gently asked Danielle if she, too, had ever held on to something so tightly that it cost her dearly, Danielle simply swallowed the words she was about to say, and quickly changed the subject, eager to just head back. After several intense rounds of dating competitions, only 6 contestants remained on the show, and the bonus prize had soared to a staggering 2 la mot tram la nom nin. Today's challenge was a grueling obstacle course, where they had to pair up as teammates. They had to navigate various hurdles to grab the food, and successfully feed it to the little pigs at the end. However, the producers deliberately paired up the 2 women who would bring the most drama. Danielle and Amber were forced to be teammates. The producers' supposed intention was that in the face of all these difficulties, they would help each other out, put aside their past grievances, build a friendship, and complete the challenge together. But in reality, they couldn't agree on how to tackle the obstacles, leading to a massive, bitter argument. They were clearly on track to win first place, but things completely fell apart on the narrow wooden bridge. Just to take each other down, they threw away their shot at winning entirely. However, seeing the 2 of them physically wrestling actually became the absolute highlight of the episode. It even rubbed off on the other girls. Any illusion of being delicate, refined ladies was completely shattered in the mud. But this wild contrast was exactly what the producer needed for the perfect rating-boosting shot. Just as the producer was trying to film a bit more, Danielle had finally had enough. Suddenly, the strong horses got spooked. They smashed right through the wooden fences and charged straight into the panicked crowd. The herd trampled all over the producer's carefully arranged set. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the horses had scattered and fled in every direction. Only then did everyone finally breathe a sigh of relief. But Wyatt was absolutely furious. He was in no mood to entertain the producers' interviews. His only thought was to frantically search for his true companions. But to his surprise, Danielle stepped up to help. And just like that, a rather reluctant Wyatt took Danielle along to track down the missing horses. It wasn't until they had rounded up every last horse together that Wyatt finally saw Danielle in a whole new light. Yet, she still felt like such a beautiful mystery to him. Sometimes she seemed to hate this rustic life, and other times, he felt like she couldn't bear to leave his side at all. As the number of contestants continued to dwindle, the harsh reality of the competition eliminated the sweet, Cinderella-like girl, but she had genuinely fallen for our leading man. She was even willing to forfeit her appearance fee, per the rule, just for the chance to stay with him until the very end. The atmosphere around the set had grown quite heavy and somber. However, the producers were also preparing to reveal a secret to the contestants early. The location for the grand finale would be set in the most unexpected of places. A ticket to the finale in Paris, France, was something Danielle was absolutely determined to win. Meanwhile, Amber, still fuming over today's altercation, just couldn't let it go. She had already noticed Danielle acting strangely, and openly swore that she would uncover whatever hidden secrets lay beneath. Wyatt, too, had his own quiet doubts about Danielle, so, sneaking out in the dead of night, he went to ask Danielle out on a secret date. Just as she was getting ready for bed, they carefully slipped past the crew's watchful eyes, only to be spotted by a lurking Amber. But by some stroke of luck, no one reported them. The 2 of them successfully snuck off the ranch. Finally free from the constant glare of the cameras, they were completely free to go wherever their hearts desired. Wyatt wanted to share his absolute favorite place in the world with Danielle. Because of the production crew's constant surveillance, Wyatt never had the chance to confess his true feelings to Danielle, and Danielle had fallen deeply for Wyatt, too. There had always been an undeniable spark between them, and just like that, the 2 of them fell completely in love in the quiet, peaceful woods. But during this blissful, stolen time together, Amber sneaked in and stole Danielle's backpack. She discovered the acceptance letter from the art academy. Suddenly, she understood exactly what was going on. Meanwhile, completely unaware of this, Danielle was trying to decide with Wyatt whether or not they should take a trip to her house so he could see the beautiful art pieces she had created. After all, her home was only a short 45-minute drive away. When Wyatt finally laid eyes on Danielle's handmade artwork, he was absolutely blown away by how beautiful they were. But as he tried to understand the deeper meaning behind them, his attention was completely captivated by a golden apple. Yet, Danielle gently beat around the bush once again, leaving Wyatt to curiously guess her true intentions. He figured her biggest dream was probably just to visit Paris, France, for a little fun. So, Wyatt looked at her earnestly and promised that he would take her to Paris to film the finale of the show. After the show wrapped wrapped up, they could stay and explore the city for a few weeks before heading back to Texas together to run his family's generational ranch. But deep down, that wasn't Danielle's dream at all. Wyatt wasn't just the charming star of the dating show, the specially invited bachelor. He was also incredibly sweet, always rushing to help with the chores around the house. He quickly won the hearts of her grandmother and younger sisters, but Danielle gently shooed him outside to gather eggs, pleading with her family not to mention anything about the art academy, because she knew that Wyatt's entire life was meant to be spent right there in Texas. Later, Wyatt innocently asked about Danielle's parents, unknowingly touching a deep, painful scar in her heart. Danielle's parents had tragically passed away in a car accident. She and her two younger sisters had been raised single-handedly by their loving grandmother. Wyatt's parents, on the other hand, had divorced when he was very young. Growing up as an only child, he sometimes felt a profound sense of loneliness, but running the ranch his grandfather had left behind was the only thing he ever truly wanted to do. Leaving the show's set without permission was a clear breach of contract. The producer issued one final, stern legal warning. Yet, what no one realized at the time was that the title of champion already belonged to Danielle. As they were preparing for the next round of competition, Amber sought Wyatt out privately. She seemed to have something incredibly important to discuss with him. As this intense round finally came to a close, the show shifted back into its thrilling, high-stakes elimination phase. The final golden spur of the evening seemed destined to go to Danielle without a shadow of a doubt. But shockingly, Danielle was the one who got eliminated. Their beautiful promise to go to Paris together, to film the final episode side by side, was shattered. Just like that, Danielle simply couldn't comprehend Wyatt's sudden change of heart. She had no idea where their blossoming romance had gone so terribly wrong. But now, all she could do was pack her bags in silence. After returning home, Danielle's eyes were hollow, staring blankly ahead, completely lost in her sorrow. She just couldn't believe that Wyatt would cut ties with her so coldly. Her grandmother and younger sisters refused to believe that Wyatt was the kind of man to change his mind so easily. But at least Danielle had earned her due la motte tram bon moyenne appearance fee, along with the due l'abbé moyenne in prize money. It was enough to fund 2 years of university in Paris, France, which meant she could finally fulfill her lifelong dream. After Danielle was sent away, Wyatt's heart ached with an unbearable heaviness. He gazed up at the endless sky with a sorrowful expression, completely unaware that the woman he truly loved was already on a plane, arriving in the real Paris, France, for the first time. Danielle was so incredibly close to her dream. The city seemed to breathe with an innate, artistic soul, overflowing with all sorts of fresh and wonderful experiences. As a constant stream of new sights unfolded before her eyes, her lifelong dream had always been to study and succeed at the art academy. With hard work and dedication, she cherished every single moment on campus. She wanted to pour her entire heart and soul into her studies. So, when the producer suddenly showed up in Paris, France, it really wasn't all that surprising. It meant that the Love Honeypot was finally filming its grand finale, and the final 2 women remaining were Amber and Danielle's roommate. The producer tried to persuade Danielle to return for the finale. He revealed that he had seen Amber, showing Wyatt her acceptance letter. It was only then that Danielle finally understood why Wyatt had been so furious. Being lied to, it would break anyone's heart. But, if Danielle were to act like Cinderella, and voluntarily give up any claim to the prize money, the producer promised to bring her back onto the show. But Danielle knew she couldn't just explain things during the grand finale, because Wyatt would just assume she was only there to win, and walk away with the $1.75 million in cash. Besides, giving up that much money was a massive risk to take. Danielle paused, slowly setting her pen down, only to realize that her heart and mind were completely consumed by Wyatt. Season 16 of The Love Honeypot had finally reached its ultimate finale. The leading man put on a sharp suit, fully prepared to welcome his future bride. Meanwhile, the 2 finalists were already on their way to the altar. However, the producer was completely caught off guard when he saw Danielle wearing the gorgeous gown provided by the show. She had clearly made her choice, and so, the producer decided to use Danielle as the ultimate surprise for the finale, having her crash the ceremony. According to their agreement and the show's strict rules, Danielle forfeited both her appearance fee and the grand prize. She decided to risk it all, just for a chance to clear up the misunderstanding with Wyatt. The producer, of course, was convinced this drama would skyrocket the ratings, and maybe even win them an Emmy Award. The director stopped objecting and eagerly helped set the stage for the dramatic twist. Once everything was perfectly set, the love retreat officially began filming. Wyatt, the male lead, gazed into the distance with a heavy heart. Danielle stepped softly into the camera's frame. However, Wyatt couldn't help but feel it was all too suspicious. He believed Danielle was just putting on an act just to win the grand prize. Danielle tearfully admitted that her initial motive was simply to use the appearance fee to fund her college dream, but everything had changed since then. She had completely fallen in love. Wyatt, however, just couldn't bring himself to believe her, because Danielle would be staying in Paris to study, and would ultimately leave him behind, and that was the exact reason why Danielle had hesitated for so long, unsure of how to tell him, but she pleaded with him to believe that they could figure it out together. Danielle finally realized that her explanations were in vain. She gently placed the golden apple on the table and whispered goodbye to this impossible dream. Wyatt stood there, holding the golden apple, as she slowly faded from his sight. The production crew quietly stopped filming, with Danielle's surprise appearance coming to a heartbreaking end. The two actual finalists finally made their entrance. They were ready to shoot the grand finale. However, the producer finally couldn't stand the heartbreak anymore. Danielle, her roommate, gently asked why Danielle was in tears. Meanwhile, Amber angrily accused the crew of being unfair, but had Wyatt already gone off to find Danielle? To stop Amber from causing any more drama, the roommate firmly shut the front door, locking the entire production crew inside with her, free from the prying eyes and interruptions of outsiders. Wyatt quickly found his heartbroken Danielle. All the misunderstandings between them completely melted away. Wyatt didn't care about the reality show anymore. He was more than willing to pay for Danielle's 4 years of tuition, but Danielle gently, yet firmly, declined his heartfelt offer. However, the production crew had already rushed over, ready to continue filming the final episode. The producer stepped in to stop Amber from ruining the moment, giving these two true lovers the time they needed. Following the rules of the show, Wyatt, as the male lead, had the right to propose to the girl who stole his heart. Holding the gold and the diamond ring, he got down on one knee and spoke from his heart. There was absolutely no doubt that love was the only choice, because the deep connection between them had long been understood without a single word. Yet, Danielle surprisingly chose the money, while still sharing a passionate kiss with Wyatt. In that beautiful moment, she won both the gold and true love. They had clearly outsmarted the entire production crew, and just like that, the two of them figured out a perfect plan together. Danielle would stay in Paris, France, to attend university, and Wyatt was more than willing to stay by her side for those 4 beautiful years.